Hello and good evening. You're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Hafiz Marzukhi. Malaysia is seeking the commitment of social media platforms to address cyber crimes. Communications Minister Fahmi Fadzil says this comes amid a growing trend of traditional crimes migrating to cyberspaces.
Antara tiga perkara yang paling membelenggu rakyat Malaysia yang menjadi masalah aspek jenayah dalam talian adalah masalah scam, masalah buli cyber dan juga jenayah seksual terhadap kanak-kanak, khususnya pedofilia. Ketiga-tiga ancaman kepada keselamatan rakyat ini adalah perkara yang kita lihat tidak boleh dibenarkan berlarutan.
According to Fahmi, the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission issued a letter to gather feedback from platform providers on the issue. He said Meta had the highest compliance rate, with the government's request to remove harmful content at an average of 84% across its platforms. TikTok had a compliance rate of 76%, Telegram at 65% and X with 25%, but Fahmi did not specify how the rates were measured.
A total of 5 government agencies and 9 private companies were affected by the global IT outage on July 19th. However, Digital Minister Govt says that no data was stolen during the outage and the agencies involved have resumed normal operations.
The 5 government agencies are the Ministry of Transport, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Rural and Regional Development, the National Institute of Health and the Kedah Zakat Board, while the 9 private companies impacted involved the aviation, banking and healthcare sectors. Govt said the outage was not a cyber attack, but instead was caused by a flaw in CrowdStrike's update software, which disrupted Microsoft's operating systems and prevented users from accessing their computer systems. He said he had met with representatives from Microsoft and CrowdStrike and that the former is currently preparing a full report on the incident. Microsoft had also been asked to consider the claims submitted by Malaysian companies that suffered losses and damages due to the disruption.
Malaysia ranked 12th in the latest Global Passport Index, slipping 1 position from its 11th spot last year. According to the Henley Passport Index, which ranks 199 passports, Malaysian passport holders were allowed to travel visa-free to 182 out of 227 destinations worldwide.
The Malaysian passport once ranked 8th most powerful in the world back in 2014. The index is based on data from the International Air Transport Association and reflects the global landscape of visa-free travel. Meanwhile, Singapore retained its top spot as the most powerful passport in the world, with its citizens able to visit 195 countries without a visa. Japan is in joint second position with France, Germany, Italy and Spain. Among other ASEAN countries, Brunei ranked 19th, Thailand 60th, Indonesia 65th and Philippines 73rd.
2 people have been detained for odour pollution that shut down 4 water treatment plants in Selangor. The Environment Department says they are being held to aid investigations under Section 25 of the Environmental Quality Act.
If convicted, the 2 suspects face a prison sentence of up to 5 years and a fine of up to 10 million ringgit. The Environment Department said it conducted a probe at premises suspected of processing acrylic materials in the industrial area of Jalan Kampung Orang Asli in Rawang. Inspections found that the source of the odour pollution was due to a chemical leak from a storage tank at the premises. The spill eventually overflowed into neighbouring drains, followed by the Guang River and subsequently the Selangor River. The Rantau Panjang Water Treatment Plant and Sungai Selangor Phase 1, 2 and 3 plants were shut down on Tuesday, affecting supply to 7 areas under Air Selangor.
Malaysia's inflation remained at 2% in June 2024. According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia, the Consumer Price Index or CPI was at 133 points compared to 130.4 in June 2023.
According to the department, restaurant and accommodation services led to the increase in costs with a 3.3% incline year-on-year. On a monthly basis, inflation in June rose 0.2% as compared to 0.3% in May. The country's core inflation also increased 1.9% in June, equal to the rate in May. Most states recorded increases below the national inflation level of 2.0%, except for 4 states, namely Penang 3.3%, Sarawak 2.7%, Pahang 2.7%, and Selangor 2.4%.
We'll go for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Monday, July 22nd was the hottest day on record, surpassing July 21st, which had just taken the title a day earlier. A European Union monitoring agency reported that the global average surface air temperature rose to 17.15 degrees Celsius, 0.06 degrees higher than Sunday's record.
The previous record was set for 4 consecutive days in early July 2023. Before that, the hottest day was in August 2016. In recent days, cities in Japan, Indonesia and China registered record heat, while Gulf countries have sweltered through heat indexes exceeding 60 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, temperatures in parts of Europe have surged past 45 degrees Celsius. Scientists attribute these record highs to climate change, driven by burning of fossil fuels. Last year's record was driven by the combined impact of climate change and the El Niño phenomenon. This July, however, the world is in neutral territory, with no El Niño influence, yet the heat records continue to be broken.
At least 18 people were killed after a plane crashed during takeoff in Nepal's capital, Kathmandu. The only survivor, the captain of the aircraft, was rescued from the debris and taken to the hospital.
19 people were on the Saurya Airlines flight headed for Pokhara, a popular tourism destination, when the plane skidded off the runway. The flight, which was a test run, carried 17 technical staff and 2 crew members. Nepal, home to 8 of the world's 14 highest mountains, has a record of air accidents. In January 2023, 72 people were killed in a Yeti Airlines crash that was later attributed to its pilots mistakenly cutting the power.
In the Philippines, 4 people have died as Typhoon Gemi brought heavy rains and flooding to Metro Manila, inundating streets, homes, schools and hospitals. The floods have forced tens of thousands to evacuate their homes in villages, seeking refuge in temporary shelters.
At least 4 people, including a pregnant woman and 3 children, were killed in a landslide in Batangas province 2 hours south of Manila. That took the death toll from heavy rain in the past 2 weeks to at least 12. Gemi swept past northern Philippines as it headed towards Taiwan. At 1 p.m. on Wednesday, Typhoon Gemi, which has intensified into a super typhoon, was located approximately 110 kilometers southeast of Yilan County in Taiwan. Many international and almost all domestic flights were cancelled at Taipei's Songshan Airport in anticipation of the typhoon. Gemi, expected to be the strongest storm to hit Taiwan in 8 years, is likely to move across the Taiwan Strait and hit the southeastern Chinese province of Fujian late on Thursday afternoon. Meanwhile, China's National Meteorological Center has renewed a red alert for Typhoon Gemi. China has a 4-tier color-coded weather warning system, with red representing the most severe warning, followed by orange, yellow and blue.
New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon apologised and promised reforms after a public inquiry found some 200,000 people were abused in state and religious care over the last 70 years. Nearly 1 in 3 children and vulnerable adults in care from 1950 to 2019 experienced some form of abuse, according to the report.
The state was supposed to care for you, to protect you, but instead it subjected you to unimaginable physical, emotional, mental and sexual abuse. A number of faith-based schools, institutions and people in positions of authority who you should have been able to trust failed you in the worst possible way. This is a dark and sorrowful day in New Zealand's history. And as a society and as a state, we should have done better, and I am determined that we will do so.
The Royal Commission of Inquiry spoke to more than 2,300 survivors in New Zealand, which has a population of 5.3 million. The inquiry detailed numerous abuses in state and faith-based care, including rape, sterilisation and electric shocks, with abuse peaking in the 1970s. Many survivors marched to New Zealand's Parliament ahead of the report's release, carrying colourful ribbons with names written on them. The report also found that individuals from the indigenous Maori community and those with mental or physical disabilities were particularly vulnerable to abuse. Luxon announced that an official apology would follow on November 12th. The report's findings could lead to billions of dollars in new compensation claims against the government.
A balloon carrying trash sent by North Korea landed on South Korea's presidential office compound on Wednesday, in the latest tit-for-tat balloon warfare. Though its contents pose no threats to security, this is the first time a fortified no-fly zone has been directly struck by Pyongyang's trash balloons.
The presidential office said it monitored the balloon in real time before it landed. The military has refrained from shooting down any balloons out of concern that their contents could spread further and cause more damage. They instead would collect them after they have fallen. Since May, North Korea has sent thousands of trash-filled balloons towards South Korea in protest against anti-Pyongyang propaganda leaflets sent by activists across the border. In response to the waves of balloons, South Korea on Sunday resumed full-scale propaganda broadcasts from loudspeakers along the border directed at North.
US Vice President Kamala Harris has gone on the offensive against Donald Trump in the first rally of her White House campaign. Speaking to a crowd of about 3,000 in the crucial battleground state of Wisconsin, Harris framed the upcoming election as a stark choice between a former prosecutor and a convicted felon.
And I was a courtroom prosecutor before then. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
A Reuters Ipsos opinion poll reveals Harris holding a slight edge over Donald Trump. The survey, conducted Monday and Tuesday, shows Harris leading Trump 44% to 42% among registered voters. This is a shift from last week's polls, which had Harris and Trump tied at 44% before Biden's exit from the presidential race. Adding to her momentum, Harris's campaign had collected more than $100 million in contributions from Sunday afternoon to Monday evening, with 62% of all donations coming from first-time donors.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Hafiz Marzukhi. Thanks for watching and good night.